I stood at the altar, my fingers curled tightly around the bouquet, my heart pounding with triumph. The chapel was silent, save for the minister's voice, but my attention was fixed on her. My twin sister, Vanessa, standing just a few feet away in her blush-colored bridesmaid dress. Her hands clenched at her sides and her lips quivered, though she tried to keep her face composed. She never thought this day would come. Neither did I. Vanessa thought she had won when she ran off with my fiancé Ethan, just 3 months before our wedding. She thought she had destroyed me, left me broken and humiliated. But what she didn't know was that I was never the type to stay down. No, I rose from the ashes with a plan so perfect, so poetic, that even she could do nothing but watch in horror as I stood before her, saying my vows to the one man she had never gotten over. Logan Hart. Her first love. The one who shattered her heart into 1,000 pieces. And now he was mine. The news of Ethan and Vanessa's betrayal hit me like a wrecking ball. I had woken up that morning expecting another day of wedding planning, finalizing the guest list and picking up my dress. Instead, I found a note on my dresser, scrawled in Vanessa's loopy handwriting. "I'm sorry, Sophie. I never meant to hurt you, but Ethan and I belong together. Please understand." Understand? I clenched the note so hard that my nails dug into my palm. How could she ask for understanding when she had stolen the man I was supposed to marry? How could she look me in the eye and justify her actions? Days blurred into weeks. I barely left my apartment, drowning in anger and heartache. Claire, my best friend, was the only reason I didn't completely lose myself. "Sophie, you need to eat something," Claire urged, pushing a plate of untouched pasta toward me. "I know you're heartbroken, but starving yourself won't bring him back." I laughed bitterly. Why would I want him back? Claire hesitated before speaking again. "Then stop letting them win. Vanessa and Ethan don't deserve your pain." Hearing their names sent a fresh wave of anger through me. My identical twin sister and my fiancé. They had been sneaking around behind my back for God knows how long, and then just like that they ran away together, leaving nothing but a note. No explanations, no apologies. Just betrayal. I clenched my fist. "I don't want them back. I want revenge." Claire raised a brow. "What kind of revenge are we talking about?" That was when it hit me. The perfect plan. One that would make Vanessa regret every choice she ever made. "Logan Hart," I said, watching Claire's eyes widen in surprise. "I'm going to find him. And I'm going to make him fall for me." Claire's mouth dropped open. Vanessa's first love? The guy who ghosted her senior year and made her swear off men for 2 years? That Logan? I nodded. That Logan. Finding Logan wasn't hard. He had made a name for himself in the business world, owning a chain of high-end restaurants. A little digging led me to an event he was hosting, and that's where I made my move. Dressed in the most elegant black dress I owned, I walked into the grand ballroom, confidence radiating from me. Logan was at the center of the room, speaking with some investors. He was even more attractive than I remembered. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a chiseled jawline and piercing blue eyes that made most women weak in the knees. I wasn't most women. I waited until he noticed me. The moment his gaze landed on mine, I tilted my head slightly, offering a small, mysterious smile. His eyes darkened with interest, and within seconds he excused himself from the conversation and made his way to me. "I don't think we've met before," he said, his voice smooth. "I'm Logan." I extended my hand. "Sophie. Sophie Dawson." He took my hand, but then he froze. Recognition flickered in his eyes. "Vanessa's sister?" "Bingo. Twin sister," I corrected, smiling sweetly. "Though I'd say we're quite different." He chuckled, eyes sweeping over me. "I can see that. What brings you here?" "Fate," I said simply. "Maybe I was meant to run into you." From that moment the game was on. Over the next few weeks I made sure Logan fell for me. I played the role of the perfect woman. Attentive, charming, just the right amount of distant to keep him intrigued. He pursued me relentlessly, and soon I could tell he was completely hooked. One night, as we sat on his balcony overlooking the city, he took my hand in his and said, "I think I'm falling for you, Sophie." I leaned in just close enough for him to feel my breath on his lips. Then fall. By the time Vanessa found out, it was too late. She showed up at my apartment, her face contorted with rage. "How could you?" she screeched. "How could you go after Logan? You knew what he meant to me." I folded my arms, smirking. Oh, you mean like how you went after Ethan? She flinched. That was different. No, Vanessa. It wasn't. And the best part. I paused for dramatic effect. Logan proposed. And I said yes. Her face drained of color. No. Yes, I whispered. And you, dear sister, will be my bridesmaid. I now pronounce you husband and wife. The minister's words echoed through the chapel as Logan leaned down, capturing my lips in a deep, passionate kiss. The guests erupted in applause, but my focus remained on Vanessa. She stood frozen, her bouquet trembling in her hands, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. I had won. As I pulled away from Logan, I turned to her, lowering my voice so only she could hear. How does it feel, Vanessa? Watching me get the happily ever after you always wanted. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I smiled sweetly, brushing past her as I made my way down the aisle with my husband. Revenge had never tasted so sweet. As the wedding reception reached full swing, I moved through the crowd with an air of satisfaction. The grand ballroom was adorned with golden chandeliers, fresh white roses, and elegant place settings. The hum of laughter, clinking glasses, and light music filled the space, but my attention was elsewhere. Vanessa. She sat stiffly at the bridesmaid's table, her wine glass untouched, her face an unreadable mask. But I knew her too well. Underneath that composed exterior, she was seething. Claire approached, handing me a glass of champagne. To your victory, she said with a smirk, tilting her glass towards mine. I chuckled, clinking our glasses together. To poetic justice. As we sipped, I kept my eyes on Vanessa. I could almost hear the gears turning in her mind, trying to figure out how this had happened. She had taken what was mine, so I had taken what was hers. The difference? I had made sure she had a front row seat to my happiness. Logan, ever the doting new husband, appeared at my side, placing a warm hand on my waist. Having fun. More than I ever imagined, I replied, kissing his cheek lightly. His gaze drifted over to Vanessa, his expression unreadable. She hasn't said much. I shrugged. Not much left for her to say. She lost. Just then Vanessa pushed back her chair and made her way toward us, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. Her emerald green eyes locked onto mine as she approached. Sophie, she said, her voice even though I could hear the slight tremor beneath it. Can I talk to you? Alone. I raised an eyebrow, exchanging a brief glance with Logan, who hesitated before nodding. I'll give you two a moment. He kissed my forehead before stepping away. I folded my arms, tilting my head slightly. Well, what do you want, Vanessa? She exhaled sharply. How long have you been planning this? I smiled, taking a leisurely sip of my champagne. Since the moment I found out you ran off with Ethan. Her nostrils flared. You married Logan just to get back at me? I married Logan because he's a wonderful man, I corrected, setting my glass down on the table. The fact that it destroys you? That's just a bonus. Her hands balled into fists at her sides. You think you've won, don't you? I don't think, Vanessa. I know. Her lips parted as if she wanted to retort, but no words came out. For the first time in her life, she had no comeback, no way to twist the situation to her advantage. She was utterly powerless. Ethan will leave me eventually, you know, she finally said, her voice softer now. He's not the man you thought he was, Sophie. I laughed, shaking my head. Oh, Vanessa. That's the thing, I don't care. You can have Ethan and all the lies he told you to justify betraying me. Because at the end of the day you lost something far greater. You lost your dignity. Her face crumbled for the briefest second before she steeled herself once more. You'll regret this. I leaned in, my lips just inches from her ear. I doubt it. With that, I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there in the ruins of her own making. The night was young and I had a marriage to celebrate. Vanessa had always loved playing games. She just never expected me to beat her at her own. The honeymoon phase was supposed to be magical, but I soon realized that revenge, no matter how satisfying, wasn't the strongest foundation for a marriage. Logan and I had settled into our new home, a luxurious penthouse overlooking the city, but something felt off. One evening, as we lounged in the living room, Logan studied me for a long moment before finally asking, "Did you ever love Ethan?" I froze, my fingers tightening around my wine glass. Why does it matter? Because I need to know if this was all just about her. About Vanessa. I sighed, setting my glass down. At first maybe. But Logan, I wouldn't have married you if I didn't believe we had something real. He nodded, but his expression remained unreadable. And what about me? Do you love me? The question struck me harder than I expected. I had been so focused on outmaneuvering Vanessa that I hadn't stopped to consider my true feelings. Logan was kind, intelligent, and devastatingly handsome. But did I love him? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text message flashed across the screen. Unknown number. You think you've won? Think again. My blood ran cold. Vanessa wasn't done with me yet. The threats didn't stop. The first message was easy to dismiss. The second slightly more unsettling. By the time the third came, I could no longer pretend Vanessa was just throwing a tantrum. She was plotting something, and I had no intention of sitting around waiting for her next move. One evening, as Logan and I were enjoying dinner, my phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. Unknown number. Hope you're sleeping well. Enjoy it while it lasts. A shiver ran down my spine. Logan, noticing my change in demeanor, set down his fork. Sophie, what's wrong? I debated telling him, but the protective part of me hesitated. Vanessa was my battle, and I didn't want to drag Logan into the twisted games she played. Nothing, I lied, forcing a smile. Just work emails. His blue eyes studied me for a long moment before he nodded, though I could tell he wasn't convinced. Later that night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I realized I needed to go on the offensive. Vanessa had already taken so much from me, and I refused to let her take anything more. It was time to pay her a visit. I showed up unannounced at her apartment the next morning. The doorman hesitated before letting me through, but I strode past him, my heels clicking against the polished floors. When Vanessa opened the door, her smirk was already in place. Well, didn't think you had it in you to show up. I held up my phone. Enough with the messages. She tilted her head innocently. Messages? What messages? Don't play dumb, Vanessa. You think you can scare me? I know you better than anyone. Whatever you're planning, it won't work. She chuckled, leaning against the doorway. Oh, Sophie. That's the thing about revenge. It's only satisfying when it's unexpected. I narrowed my eyes. Stay away from me. Stay away from Logan. He grinned. Or what? A sick feeling curled in my stomach, but I refused to show weakness. You don't want to find out. As I turned to leave, her laughter followed me down the hall. I had won the battle. But the war was far from over. The air had changed. The subtle threats Vanessa had been sending me were no longer just words on a screen. There was something darker lurking beneath them, a calculated malice that sent a chill down my spine. I had underestimated her. That much was clear. One evening, as I was getting ready for bed, Logan sat beside me, his expression thoughtful. She's up to something, he murmured. That's not like Vanessa. I swallowed hard, brushing my fingers through my hair. I know. But what? Before he could answer, my phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Unknown number. Your perfect little life won't last forever. I clenched my jaw. Enough was enough. I need to face her, I said firmly. It's time I set a trap of my own. The next morning, I made sure Vanessa saw me leave the house alone. I took a cab to a quiet coffee shop, knowing she would follow. And she did. I felt her presence before I saw her. She slid into the chair across from me, a wicked glint in her eyes. Brave of you to come alone. I smiled. Oh, I'm never alone. Her eyes flickered with uncertainty before she quickly masked it. Enjoying your fairy tale while it lasts? I could ask you the same thing, I shot back. But we both know your marriage is built on lies. Her lips curled into a smirk. And yours isn't? Do you really think Logan loves you? I leaned forward, my voice dangerously low. Enough games, Vanessa. I know you're up to something. She laughed softly, shaking her head. You still don't get it, do you? This isn't over. Not by a long shot. I met her gaze, unflinching. Then let's see who plays better. The war had just begun. My war with Vanessa had been a careful game of strategy, but something was shifting. I had spent weeks anticipating her every move, but now an eerie silence had settled in her wake. It unnerved me. She's too quiet, Logan murmured as he set his coffee down one morning. That's not like Vanessa. I nodded, my stomach twisting. She's planning something. Later that day, I received an anonymous package on our doorstep. My breath hitched as I carefully unwrapped it, revealing a small velvet box. Inside, an engagement ring I recognized all too well. Ethan's ring. The one he had proposed to me with. A note was tucked inside. "Did you think I forgot? The real war has just begun." I clenched my jaw. Vanessa was letting me know she wasn't done. But what was her next move? That night I found Logan deep in thought, scrolling through his phone. "What is it?" I asked. He turned the screen to me. It was a news article. Ethan had vanished, gone without a trace. A chill ran down my spine. Vanessa hadn't just been planning revenge. She had escalated. And I had a terrible feeling that whatever came next would be much worse than I had ever anticipated. The days following Vanessa's cryptic warning were unnerving. The package with Ethan's engagement ring had been her first move, but what unsettled me most was the silence that followed. Logan remained alert, keeping an eye on any strange occurrences, but it was clear that Vanessa wasn't acting out of impulse. She was plotting something bigger. One evening, as I sat on the balcony of our honeymoon suite, sipping wine, my phone vibrated with a message from an unknown number. "You should have stayed in your lane." I stared at the screen, my fingers tightening around the glass. Before I could respond, another message followed. "Want to know where Ethan really is?" A link was attached. My heart pounded as I hesitated. Was this a trap? Was Vanessa trying to manipulate me into something reckless? Logan stepped out, sensing my tension. "What's wrong?" I showed him the messages. His jaw tightened. "Do not click that link, Sophie. It could be anything." I nodded, setting my phone aside, but my mind raced. Ethan's disappearance had been too convenient. What if Vanessa had orchestrated something far darker than I had imagined? The following morning, I received a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Sophie," Vanessa's voice purred on the other end. "You should really come see this." There was a rustling sound, then a faint, muffled voice in the background. A voice I recognized. Ethan. My blood ran cold. "What the hell have you done, Vanessa?" She laughed softly. "Let's just say, the game isn't over yet." I gripped the phone tightly, my pulse racing. "Where is he?" "Come find out," she taunted before the line went dead. Logan met my eyes, concern darkening his features. "We can't walk into this blindly. If Vanessa has Ethan, this is bigger than revenge." I swallowed hard, realization dawning on me. Vanessa wasn't just playing games anymore. She was out for blood. Vanessa had crossed the line. What started as a game of revenge had spiraled into something much darker. If she truly had Ethan, if she had gone to such lengths to stage this power play, then she was more unhinged than I had ever imagined. Logan and I sat in our suite, the tension thick in the air. His fingers tapped against the wooden table, his mind clearly racing. "We need to be smart about this, Sophie. Vanessa isn't just playing anymore. If she has Ethan, then she's escalating." I clenched my fist. "Then I have to go to her. She wants me to come, and I need to find out what she's done." He frowned. "You're not going alone." Before I could argue, my phone rang again. Another unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. "Vanessa, where is he?" A slow, sinister chuckle echoed through the line. "You're in such a hurry, dear sister. But I think you'll want to see what I have planned. Ethan made his choices and now he has to live with them. The same way you will." A cold chill ran down my spine. "If you've hurt him." "Oh, relax," she purred. "I'm not a monster, Sophie. I just want you to understand what it feels like to lose control. To be humiliated." Logan snatched the phone from my hand. "Vanessa, listen to me. If you touch Sophie or if you harm Ethan, you'll regret it." Vanessa's laughter was sickeningly sweet. "Oh, Logan. Always the hero. You don't even realize how deep you are in this. But don't worry, darling. You'll see soon enough." The line went dead. I exhaled shakily, gripping the edge of the table. "She's lost it." Logan stood abruptly. "We're going to find her. But we do this carefully. I won't let her hurt you." The address Vanessa texted me led us to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. The air was thick with the scent of damp wood and rusted metal. A single dim light flickered above the entrance, casting eerie shadows against the walls. Logan and I exchanged glances before stepping inside. The moment we did, the heavy metal doors slammed shut behind us with a loud clang. "Welcome to the show," Vanessa's voice echoed from somewhere unseen. "You wanted to see Ethan? Here he is." A spotlight illuminated the center of the room. Ethan sat in a chair, his hands bound behind his back, his lips split and swollen. His eyes locked onto mine, filled with a mixture of shame and desperation. "Sophie," he croaked. "I didn't." "Save it," I snapped, my anger boiling over. "I don't care what excuses you have." "Vanessa, let him go." From the shadows she emerged, dressed in a sleek black dress, her hair cascading over her shoulders. "Why should I? You took something from me, Sophie. It's only fair I take something from you." Logan took a step forward. "Enough of this, Vanessa. Let him go and we walk away from this. You don't want to take this any further." She smirked, tilting her head. "Oh, Logan. Always so noble. That's what I loved about you. But you don't get it, do you? This isn't just about Ethan. This is about you. About what you and Sophie took from me." I clenched my jaw. "You destroyed yourself, Vanessa. All I did was show you what it feels like to lose." Her expression darkened. "And now so will you." Suddenly, two men stepped out from the darkness behind her. They were large, intimidating, and clearly not just here for show. One of them cracked his knuckles, eyeing Logan with a smirk. Logan tensed, shifting into a defensive stance. "If you think I'm going to let you hurt her, you're delusional." Vanessa waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, relax. I don't want to hurt her. Just rearrange the pieces of the game." Ethan groaned. "Vanessa, please. You don't have to do this." She shot him a glare. "You should be thanking me, Ethan. I saved you from marrying my pathetic sister. But you're just collateral now." I took a deep breath, keeping my voice even. "What do you want, Vanessa? Really?" She stepped closer, her eyes locked onto mine. "I want you to know what it feels like to be powerless. To have something ripped away. To lose." My lips curled into a smirk. "Then you're going to be very disappointed. Because no matter what you do here tonight, Vanessa, you've already lost." Her eyes flickered with uncertainty for the first time. She didn't expect me to be this calm. And that was my advantage. I was ready for her. And she had no idea what was coming next. The air in the warehouse was thick with tension. Vanessa's expression flickered between fury and uncertainty. She had always been the one pulling the strings, the one setting the traps. But now she was the one walking blindly into mine. I could feel Logan beside me, his body taut like a spring, ready to explode into action if needed. Ethan, still bound to the chair, looked at me with something that almost resembled regret. I wasn't sure if it was for betraying me or for getting caught in Vanessa's web. Vanessa took a slow step forward, her lips curving into a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You think you're so clever, don't you, Sophie? But tell me, do you really believe you've won?" I crossed my arms. "I don't believe, Vanessa. I know." Her nostrils flared as she turned to Logan. "And you? What are you getting out of this? Do you really think she loves you? Or are you just a pawn in her game to hurt me?" Her voice wavered slightly, betraying her composure. Logan smirked. "Unlike you, Vanessa, I know exactly what I signed up for. And trust me, I'd rather be with a woman who knows how to play the game than one who keeps losing at it." Vanessa's fingers twitched. The two men she had brought with her shifted, waiting for her signal. But she hesitated. She was realizing, perhaps for the first time, that she was outmatched. I took a step closer. "The thing about playing dirty, Vanessa, is that you have to be prepared for when someone plays back. You've spent your whole life trying to destroy me, but you never stopped to consider what would happen when I stopped playing the victim." Her eyes burned into mine. "You think I'm finished?" I smiled. "I know you are. Because while you were busy plotting your little revenge, I was 2 steps ahead of you." From behind us, the sound of approaching sirens echoed through the warehouse. Vanessa's eyes widened in panic. "What did you do?" she hissed. Logan pulled out his phone, waving it slightly. "Let's just say I've been recording this entire conversation. And considering you just admitted to kidnapping Ethan and hiring these thugs, I'd say that's enough to put you away for quite some time." Vanessa lunged, but one of the men held her back. "You idiots! Do something!" The taller of the 2 henchmen grimaced. "Sorry, lady. We're not going to jail for you." The doors burst open and within seconds, uniformed officers stormed in, weapons drawn. "Nobody move." Vanessa turned to me, her eyes wild. "You set me up." I tilted my head. "No, Vanessa. You set yourself up. I just let you dig your own grave." As the officers restrained her, she thrashed, her fury spilling out in curses. Ethan, now free from his binds, stood up shakily. He looked between me and Vanessa, then let out a heavy sigh. I deserved this. I met his gaze. Yes, you did. Vanessa's screams faded as she was dragged away. And just like that, the war between us was over. Logan turned to me, placing his hands on my shoulders. It's done, Sophie. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Yeah. It is. Months had passed since Logan and I returned from our honeymoon, and life had settled into a peaceful rhythm. I stood on the balcony of our new home, gazing out at the sprawling garden below. Behind me, Logan emerged from the house, wrapping his arms around my waist. You're up early, he murmured, pressing a kiss to the side of my neck. I leaned into his warmth. I couldn't sleep. Just thinking. He turned me around to face him, his brow furrowed. About what? I smiled softly. About how far we've come. How different everything is now. Logan cupped my cheek, his thumb tracing gentle circles against my skin. Do you regret any of it? I shook my head. Not a single thing. He let out a breath of relief. Good, because I was thinking, maybe it's time for our next adventure. I raised an eyebrow. And what might that be? Logan pulled out an envelope and handed it to me. Inside was a plane ticket. Italy, he said. One last trip before we start thinking about settling down? Tears welled in my eyes. Let's go. As Logan pulled me into his arms, I realized that this moment was everything I had ever fought for. Not revenge. Not one-upping Vanessa. But love. Vanessa may have stolen my past, but she could never take my future. And for the first time in my life, I was free.